right, again, in the quest to kind of get back on track here and get away from the personal drama, Lower Decks is back. And again, they dropped 2 episodes right off the bat, so we'll be doing those separately, though. But kicking off with a Voyager heavy one. In fact, everything has to do with Voyager. As far as, big time, it's not references all over the place. Everything has to do with Voyager and what happens there. And the solutions have to do with Voyager. So they're kind of fine tuning the reference fest in this time. And yeah, this one, it's like you find out, kind of. We know eventually it winds up at the Fleet Museum. This is kind of the thing of how it started. Figured, after come back and then they send it off to take away all the future tech. The stuff that Section 31 is going to start squirreling away back at Daystrom Station for this study for a while. So they know future shields or anything. It's going to be strictly there, and taking it back to a off the assembly line restoration, pretty much. More or less, because we find out that the curator, and then as always, it's spoiler horrific here. Okay, so if you haven't seen it, watch it now and come back later. Okay, but the episode Twovix, as in Twovix, pretty much a direct carry on from the Voyager episode Twovix. Same sort of thing happens, but the difference is we're not stuck in the Delta Quadrant. We can the research draw from, so we're gonna go to Starfleet and fix that. But the thing is, the Phillips has the other idea. Oh hell no! He also reads Janeway's solution to the situation. He's like, he ain't killing me. And hilarity ensues as he starts trying to Twovix the entire group. Yes, Twovix becomes a verb. And so. Meanwhile, back on Voyager, there was a macrovirus that lay dormant behind the circuits on the bridge, and now suddenly wakes up and is going nuts and is breeding and is multiplying, and one of them gets assimilated and gets a bright idea to direct Voyager instead of back to Earth, but to the nearest Borg cube, and because the curator decided to string holographic emitters all through the ship. To kind of enhance the experience when people come visit, the exhibits and everything. Then it starts, going nuts on the hologram. You got to see it, but if you love Voyager, you will love this episode. You hear the Jerry Goldsmith theme repeatedly. They've duplicated Voyager with such incredible detail. And when the Trek yards went through this. But I think they're speculating that they probably did get the actual Voyager CGI model to work on. There's a couple of spots that lit up that shouldn't light up, but other than that, it's spot on. It is Voyager. And Boimler finally, and you kind of feel sad because Boimler gets promoted to Lieutenant JG. Tandy gets promoted to Lynn, their new Vulcan friend gets promoted. And Mariner, against her high protest, gets promoted. Only one left is Rutherford. What we'll do with them next episode. But it's like, the problem is, dates from a Voyager episode. The solution comes from a Voyager episode, namely Neelix's cheese. They tried to make one. And it all ties together, and like, Captain Freeman said, today's bizarre Voyager-themed, weirdness, whatever. So the only way to end it is hand out promotions here. So, But, it's like, again, there is actual character growth going on here. Boimler's learning to be a little more assertive and not be so skittish. Mariner's going to be forced to grow up whether she likes it or not, And the thing is, between this and the next episode, Ransom turns out to be not quite the dummy jock he thought he was. There's actually, some pretty good instincts there. Why he promotes Mariner and doesn't let her reject it. No. I've seen your record. You've had a lot of commanding officers who promoted you, then bust you right back down because they didn't believe in it. No, I'm not letting you back off. And this really comes to a head next episode, which I'll cover later in another video. But this is gonna get nuts. But it's onward and upward, everyone, and they're actually developing characters. Again, if you can get past the sight gags and all the rapid fire references and everything, there is some real Star Trek going on here, and something that Rob Burnett, kind of played out a challenge in his last live stream about this, talking about how the current writers don't know Star Trek. I put it to you that Prodigy and Lower Decks, they do know Star Trek. And Lower Decks, they're kind of maybe trying a little too hard to prove they know, but they do know Star Trek. And they're all hardcore fans. And they're just having all kinds of fun in the Star Trek universe. They want to play with every toy in the sandbox, and they know how to use it. Okay? They're not just pulling names from Memory Alpha. Everything like with this one, everything relates. It is relevant to the story. It's not just name dropping. But we will learn more as we go along, especially with the little unknown threat that's gone around blowing up ships, because we see this Klingon ship when they did a multi-species version of Lower Decks, Wijduk, I think it was it, and we meet up again with the Klingon bird of prey that we saw them, and they even have their own Tal guy in there, but they got blown away at the end by this thing. It looks like a giant agonizer. I'm sure that it may have rung at you when they did it. It looks like a giant agonizer, and it just blows them with one shot, and eventually it's going to meet up with the Cerritos, and we're going to find out what's going on here. But one life form on board. That's kind of nothing. But yeah, this is good stuff. Okay, if you don't like animation in general, if you don't like the kind of rapid fire pattern, thing back and forth, I don't mind references if they're done properly and they're done correctly. And the references actually have something to do with what's going on. It's not just random name dropping. It's an indication of, do these writers really know what they're doing? And yes, I think they really do. They know where they are in the universe, and they're glad to be there. These aren't a bunch of writers who are embarrassed to be writing a Star Trek show. They love writing a Star Trek show, and they're gonna have fun doing every step of the way. And for now, it's like until Star Trek Legacy gets greenlit, free from Kurtzman, let Terry Matalas do it, and I hope they also, if they do, take a few steps story-wise to free it completely from Discovery in the previous 2 seasons of Picard. Realign this thing with the proper canon Star Trek universe. And you could have a hell of a pilot episode first episode with that, because really the season 3 of Picard was the pilot. But kick that off with that, so you can do a slight little change here and there. Maybe, I don't know, with the uniforms or whatever. Or someone does a check on the history. Hey, okay, well, wait. That's why Picard's in a robot body? And they give a better explanation than what the hell they did in season 1, okay, of Picard. And it's little things. They can, And again, I think the first shoe dropped on there when we saw the New Jersey. And it wasn't a version of the Disco Prize. It was a proper Constitution-class ship. It's already starting to realign. So I need to follow through with that. But that's another thing, another series. But Lower Decks is back, and they are proceeding and growing, and they're getting better. They are really digging in there, and they're pushing these characters forward to grow. And it really, big time next episode with the Mariner. But we will deal with that later. So we'll talk at you later.